It was a warm Tuesday morning in London. The kind of morning that smells like sunscreen and coffee, and someone eating something greasy nearby. Tourists were everywhere. Cameras out, phones up, maps folded wrong. The gates of Buckingham Palace had already collected a thick crowd by 9 o'clock, and it was only going to get thicker. Among the crowd was an American man. He was somewhere in his mid-40s, wearing a polo shirt, white sneakers, and the look of someone who had already done the Tower of London and was now checking this one off the list. He had come to London with his wife, who was sitting on a bench a few feet away with a paperback open on her lap. She had given up on sightseeing about 2 hours ago. He had not. He had taken 3 photos already. One from across the street, one from the footpath, one from somewhere in the middle of a crowd that mostly blocked the shot. None of them were quite right. He needed something better. Something he could actually show people back home. Something with a story behind it. And then he saw the guard. Standing at the post was a soldier dressed in the full uniform. The tall black bearskin hat, the bright red tunic, the polished boots that looked like they cost more than a plane ticket. The soldier stood completely still, arms by his side, eyes forward, not looking at anything in particular, and yet somehow looking at everything. He had the posture of a man who had been trained to treat the world as background noise. The American watched him for a moment. Then he started walking closer. 10 feet. Fine. Everyone was doing that. 7 feet. Still okay. A couple nearby was doing the same thing. 5 feet. Now he had the guard's full profile. He raised his camera. Got the shot. But it still wasn't what he wanted. What he wanted, and this is the part where things start to go sideways, was a photo with the guard. Not in front of him. Not behind him. Next to him. The kind of photo you see on people's refrigerators. The kind with a caption like, "Made a new friend in London." He stepped into the frame. Then he did something that would, by the following morning, be watched by over 1 million people. He put his arm around the guard's shoulder and smiled. For a moment, nothing happened. The guard didn't move. His face didn't change. His eyes stayed fixed on the middle distance. The American was still grinning, waiting for his wife to take the photo. The crowd around them had slowed down slightly, the way crowds do when something feels like it might be about to happen. A few phones were already pointed in their direction. Then the guard spoke. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. The voice came out low and firm. The kind of voice that doesn't raise itself because it has never needed to. Step back from the post. 3 words. Or 5, depending on how you count. But the weight of them was something else entirely. The American laughed. He actually laughed. Because he thought it was part of the performance. He thought the guard was playing along, doing the whole serious soldier thing that tourists find charming. He turned to his wife and gave a little shrug like, "Can you believe this guy?" His wife had looked up from her book by then. She had seen the guard's face. She wasn't laughing. The guard said it again. Same tone. No louder. Step back from the post. The American finally seemed to register that something was different. He started to say something. Some version of, "Relax, I'm just having a bit of fun," but the sentence never finished. The guard moved. He unslung his rifle from his shoulder in one smooth motion, not pointed at anyone, not raised in any threatening way, just removed, the way you might pick up something you'd set down. And then he began to march. His route took him directly forward, and the American was directly in that path. The guard did not slow down. He did not swerve. He did not say, "Excuse me." The American scrambled backward. His camera swung on its strap and hit him in the chest. He stumbled over his own feet and nearly went down before catching himself on the arm of a stranger who happened to be standing nearby. His wife had stood up from the bench. Someone in the crowd said, "Oh," one sharp syllable of collective surprise. Several phones were now recording openly. The guard completed his route, turned, returned to his position, and became a statue again. Start to finish. About 30 seconds. The American stood 6 feet away from the post, slightly red-faced, one hand still floating in the air, at approximately the height where it had been resting on someone else's shoulder. His wife walked over to him. Neither of them said anything for a moment. Then they left. That should have been the end of it. Just one of those things that happens, gets laughed about at dinner, fades into the background of a holiday photo album. But someone in the crowd had been recording from the moment the American put his arm around the guard. The clip was 17 seconds long. It showed the arm going around the shoulder, the stillness, the command, the laugh, the march, the stumble. The stumble was the part that traveled. It had a way of landing differently depending on who was watching. Some people saw it as funny, some saw it as embarrassing, some saw it as exactly what should happen. By that evening, the clip had been shared across half a dozen social media platforms. Comments piled up in the thousands. The internet, as it tends to do, divided itself into camps almost immediately. One camp thought it was hilarious, and if you were only watching the stumble on a loop, there was something genuinely slapstick about it. The camera swinging, the arms windmilling, the look on the American's face as he grabbed a stranger's arm. People clipped it, slowed it down, put music under it. The other camp had a different take. Veterans in the comments section, not just British ones, but soldiers from multiple countries, started weighing in. They pointed out things the average viewer might have missed. The precision of the movement, the absolute absence of hesitation, the fact that the guard had followed protocol exactly, and had done so under the gaze of dozens of phones without losing composure even slightly. Some of them said flatly, "That is hard to do. Years of training go into that kind of stillness. It doesn't come naturally to anyone." A retired soldier wrote a short comment that got shared on its own. He said something along the lines of, "Most people have no idea what it takes to stand at that post. You are not a statue. You are a person controlling everything about yourself. Every twitch, every reaction, every instinct, for hours at a time. When someone violates that space, it is not just rude. It is a test of discipline that most people would fail." That guard passed it. The clip kept moving. And then, the following night, something happened that nobody expected. A comment appeared under one of the most viewed reposts of the clip. The account was under a regular, unremarkable name. No blue checkmark, no thousands of followers, just a normal-looking profile. The comment said, "This is me in this video. I want to say clearly, I was wrong. I didn't understand the rules, and I acted like they didn't apply to me. That soldier handled the situation with more professionalism than I showed as a visitor. I'm genuinely sorry. No excuses. No, I didn't know." Well, he said he didn't know, but he didn't use it as a reason. He used it as the beginning of a sentence that ended in an apology. The comment got more likes than the video itself. That's the part that surprised people most. Not the stumble, not the guard's discipline, but the fact that the man in the polo shirt found the clip, watched himself in it, and then wrote something honest without anyone forcing him to. People who had been laughing at him started saying something different. They said things like, "This takes courage," and "I respect this more than I expected to." Someone responded to his comment saying they hoped he'd come back to London. Someone else said that the guard deserved to know. Someone else said that maybe the video ending with that comment was actually the best possible outcome, which is a strange thing to say about a stumble caught on a phone, but the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. The guard, for his part, never saw any of it. He was at his post the next morning when the sun came up. Red coat, polished boots, eyes forward. The city moved around him, the cabs, the pigeons, the new crowd of tourists with their phones out, and he stood still inside all of it, the way he had been trained to do. He didn't know he'd been watched by 1,000,000 people. He didn't know that veterans across the world had called what he did an example of discipline. He didn't know that the man who had grabbed his shoulder had gone online and done the one thing people almost never do after they've been embarrassed publicly. He just knew his job, and he did it.